Portland City Council. Keelan, please call the roll.
Good morning. Ryan?
Here.
Gonzalez?
Here.
Lopes?
Here.
Review?
Here.
Wheeler?
Here. Now I'll turn it over to legal counsel for the rules of order and decorum.
Good morning. Welcome to the Portland City Council. To testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance on the council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. Information on engaging with City Council can be found on the council clerk's webpage. The presiding officer preserves order and decorum during city council meetings. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. A timer will indicate when your time is done. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If you cause disruption, a warning will be given. Further disruption will result in ejection from the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave once ejected is subject to arrest or trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Your testimony today should address the matter being considered. When testifying, state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Disclose if you are a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. For testifiers joining virtually, please unmute yourself once the council clerk calls your name. Thank you.
Thank you. First up is communications. Item 304, please.
Request of Paul Buchanan to address council regarding safer streets for all Portlanders.
Welcome, Paul. Is that you? Come on up.
Thank you, Council Clerk and Commissioners. My name is Paul Buchanan. I'm a former board member of Bike Loud, a current board member of the Street Trust, and I'm here to represent, or here volunteer as a volunteer for Bike Loud. I keep hearing the narrative that the culture of driving needs to change in Portland. When I hear this, I hear the voice of imperialism and colonialism. I hear tones of white supremacy. This voice feeds the negative narrative that Portland is a dangerous place full of dangerous people that need to change for the city to be better. But in my experience here, the people of Portland are her best asset, and the city needs to change to better serve her people. And the largest part of the city that needs to change to serve us is our roads. I've lived car-free in Minneapolis, Seattle, and Portland, and of the three, I find Portland drivers to be the most accommodating. Now, I haven't driven regularly in a while, so I'm not 100% sure about the current culture of driving, but I don't think the typical Portland driver drinks 3 beers before hitting the road. I don't think the average Portland motorist is taking a hoot of Fent before running about their day behind the wheel of a car. I only get around on bike, and I find drivers slowing down and stopping more often than not for people walking, riding bike, and using mobility devices. I see people driving, waiting, and making space for people using mobility devices or riding bike on the street. Very few drivers want to kill someone with their car, but thousands of pounds of steel rolling around the street is an unsafe thing, even if steered with the best of intentions. As parents, how many of you hesitate to let your kids ride bike because of cars on roads? When streets aren't built safe enough for everyone to feel free to move on, parents are burdened with having to drive children everywhere. School, home, practice, home, games, home, friends' houses, home. How much of your time is spent as your child's chauffeur? How much time would be saved by a network of low-traffic neighborhood streets to schools and around parks? If you include children as people, almost half of the city cannot and does not drive. If you include children as people, almost half the city cannot and does not drive. Now, I've been a volunteer on the world-famous Alameda bike bus for the better part of the last 2 years, and the single thing that made the route safer and more comfortable was the diverter at Fremont and Alameda. Immediately, speeds dropped as only local traffic moves through that part of the neighborhood now. And I live in North Portland, and the Willamette Boulevard by the Dog Bowl and Overlook is a textbook example of how every greenway could act and how every greenway should filter non-local traffic at regular intervals to make a space that works for everybody. Now, I'm sorry, but no city council will change the way people think by wishing well. Now, you can change how our city is built. And the only way to change how people act in a multiple 1,000-pound steel box is to change the space it can move in. The streets of Portland are the single largest shared public space Portlanders interact with on a daily basis, and these streets need to be built to serve, protect, and reflect the breadth of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Commissioner Gonzalez has a comment.
I just want to thank you, Paul, for your commentary, and I look forward to doing a bike bus with you. One piece I do want to call attention to when we talk about the engagement of children in transportation, it's essential that we have open access to our parks, and because when you use the scenario of taking your child to sports or to engage in music or other activities, one of our biggest challenges as parents in the city is the proximity of those activities to where kids go to school and where they live. So I want to echo your, I think, broader points, but I just also want to emphasize the importance of our parks, that we keep them open, that we provide top-class facilities as best we can throughout the city for all socioeconomic levels, because it is a direct connection with transportation. If you're a parent, the two are really tied. And for those seeking medical help with multiple children, navigating our transportation system is an additional challenge. And so I appreciate your comments. I just want to acknowledge that it's not just our roads, not just our bikeways, but we're talking about how to facilitate bike or other multimodal attendance to those events. It's really where they're located and are they close to people's home.
And I see Commissioner Ryan has his hand up.
Yes,
Commissioner
thank you,
Ryan.
Presiding Officer, President Maps. Paul, I really appreciate you being here. You've been here a couple of times. Your voice is credible, and you walk your talk. So I have a question for you. I've experienced too many, what'd you say, sharing the space, but we have so many objects rolling and driving, sharing the space. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what I'm experiencing increasingly, is there's no room for all of us on this one road. And so are you speaking to that in some of your comments? I'm just intrigued with some of the lines that you used.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, it's a issue of geometry in our space. I mean, if everybody here drove a car, how big would the parking lot need to be to fit, 100 cars that are 8 feet wide and 20 feet long? And that's a small car these days. I mean, some of these cars, some of these wide body cars are 10 feet wide. That's as wide or wider than a standard parking space or travel lane in a lot of places. So yeah, it's literally just an issue of geometry. Not everybody can drive, and we're really deliberate about
And then when we make decisions,
taking people out of cars.
So how about this? So we'll have greenways next to a busy corridor that's perhaps been redone lately, that includes cars, bike lane, buses. It's all there, and it's
If we're lucky, it has those. Yeah.
if we're lucky. But then one block over, there's a greenway, which when I ride a bike, I go over to that greenway ASAP. There's no reason for me to be.
I do too. I mean, I have a small puppy that I ride with often, and so
Do you think we do a good enough job promoting the greenway?
I think greenways need and this is as a member of Bike Loud, I've worked on a couple of volunteer projects to try and do some actually tactical wayfinding on greenways, where we just went out and sprayed markings on the street ourselves to improve wayfinding. The greenways I think are Portland's single greatest transportation asset, actually. I think that if we were really deliberate about filtering traffic off of them, it'd be the single largest fully ADA accessible transportation mobility network in the country. It's like 120 miles, I think.
Yeah.
It'd be such an amazing asset.
I think that's where drivers' behaviors change. I know in North Portland, where I live, there's a greenway road, and then there's the non-greenway. And the greenway was always closer, but when it went in, I just stopped using it. It took the navigation system about a year to notice that was the right thing to do. But I just wanted to have a little dialogue with you about that.
Yeah, I mean, the greenways, it's I mean, they do take about like a year to learn also. That was like my experience too. I moved here from Seattle in 2019, and it took me over a year to like really get a feel for how they actually, where they actually are and how they actually operate. But it's I mean, it's a real low barrier entry to do wayfinding on them in a way that, I mean, someone visiting from, France, Germany, Japan, India could find their way anywhere also.
And do you think there's roads that, besides freeways, obviously, where bikes shouldn't be there because it's just not safe? And if there's a greenway right next to it, we could promote that?
Yeah, I mean, like Division is a great example.
great example.
Yeah, of Clinton, you have the Clinton Greenway just south of it and part of the division, and that's like a greenway that was supposed to be improved as part of the division corridor, and there kind of weren't improvements made to that.
We
so.
have Vision Zero this afternoon, and I don't know if you're going to be here, so I guess I was just doing a little warm-up act to have some.
No, I wish. Yeah,
somebody
no,
that comes along.
Vision Zero is a great program and run by some really amazing people at Peabody.
I appreciate you being here.
Thank you
Great. Thank you very much.
for your time.
Next item, please. Keelan, can you please call comms 305?
Request of Jane Monson to address council regarding derelict property. Jane is joining us online.
Welcome, Jane.
Hi, I'm Jane, and I am also speaking on behalf of Sean Allison, a neighbor who lives directly adjacent to this property. On February 14th, this council initiated foreclosure of the property that has been negatively affecting our neighborhood and consuming city resources for over 3 years. The neighbors were hopeful the situation would change with the council's decision to foreclose, but that process was shut down when one of the lien holders on the property swept in and paid off the city's liens. Since then, this bank has made no action to proceed with foreclosure on its own lien on the property. At the time the foreclosure on this property was brought to council, you also directed BDS to explore creative solutions to relieve the city of this nuisance on a more expedient timeline than allowed by the process of foreclosure alone. After that meeting, Mike Massat of BDS requested a hearing for the code violations that have accumulated on this property, and one of the remedies requested was demolition. At that hearing, we were able to see shocking photos of the interior damage that was done to this structure by a fire in 2021, which left gaping holes in the roof, allowing rain to enter this structure for 3 years. We also saw photos of how trespassers have ripped apart the interior walls to remove wires and find materials to burn, making the structure even more dangerous for firefighters if another fire occurs. We are still awaiting the decision of the code hearing officer. Even with the windows finally boarded up on this derelict house, trespassers continue to intimidate the neighbors, especially the elderly couple whose property is being used as a shortcut to access the property. The city needs to clear derelict properties like the one in our neighborhood for productive infill and rid our neighborhoods of these dangerous and derelict structures that use up the resources of police and code enforcement and risk injury to our firefighters. I have 2 requests of council. Please do not make further budget cuts to BDS. Staffing cuts at BDS turned our request for a board up of this property into a months-long process as they had to work through a backlog of similar properties. And 2, we would like the city to allow BDS to use the $34,000 that they recouped from payment of the city's liens on this property toward demolition costs of this dangerous structure. The owner died, and the heirs of this property will not be an obstacle as they have been notified by the city and have expressed absolutely no interest in taking responsibility for abatement of any of the code violations. Thank you for your time to express our concerns about this property.
Thank you, Jane. And I see Commissioner Rubio has her hand raised. Commissioner Rubio.
Thanks, Jane. I just want to thank you for your comments and your concern. And I just wanted to share a few things that I know you know all about the situation. As you know, the city had authorized a foreclosure on the property, as you said, and that the bank had paid the outstanding liens, which means that it moved it from the foreclosure list. And it's very complicated situations, and we're working really hard to deal with this and also manage them as best as we can with our fullest authority and within the legal boundaries. But in the meantime, we're concurrently also being responsive in coordination with the police bureau. But I know that is not an answer. So we are working actively on a fix and discussing currently, like we're actively currently talking about what we need to do in order to recalibrate so that we have more flexibility and urgency when these kinds of specific issues that seem to fall through the cracks or in gaps in policy, so that we can handle them more appropriately. So thank you for keeping it front and center for us. And my staff, Megan Beyer, will be a point of contact for you. We'll update you as we have more to share. But I also want to just also appreciate that you see the connection with having a fully staffed BDS so that we can move more expeditiously on these things and deal with them in real time. So I appreciate you holding us accountable to that, and we'll keep you updated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Keelan, next item on communications, 306, please.
Request of Jordan, Washington, to address council regarding Odor City Code. Jordan is joining us online.
Welcome, Jordan.
Hi, council members, and hi, Mayor Wheeler. Thank you for taking some time this morning. I just wanted to briefly talk about one of the city code items we have for offsite impacts concerning odor. I'm sure all of you are aware at this point of a recent issue where a restaurant was essentially forced to close or due to odor complaints that they had received from an anonymous member of the public. And just from the media coverage of it, I did some research, just kind of curious to see what the issue was and what the city code that was being referred to was concerning. That city code is standard is odor standard. The odor standard is for continuous, frequent, or repetitive odors may not be produced. The odor threshold is the point at which an odor may be detected. There is an exemption for any odor detected for less than 15 minutes per day. I think we all recognize at this point that's pretty vague and can apply to a lot of businesses within our city limits. A few that come to mind include the Portland Franz Bakery off of Southeast 12th. Very prominent smell right across from Benson High School. If you're over at the track over there, you can definitely smell it, or playing racquetball. But there's a number of other businesses, and even trees, especially this time of year, can have a very pungent odor. Should I be able to complain about my neighbor's tree because I find the odor offensive? The reason I bring it up is that city code specifies that there should be a use of objective standards to provide a measurable means of determining specified offsite impacts. I know that odor tends to be a little bit more subjective. The Oregon Health Authority has a great resource in regards to smell. Most smells are sensed by our olfactory nerves, which give us the ability to smell things like flowers, fish, dirt, feces, or urine. These smells can cause personal reactions, also known as subjective symptoms. These can include symptoms like stress, nausea, fear, headache, or with pleasant smells, delight. And then there's also trigeminal nerves, which trigger reactions like irritation, burning, or stinging. These objective symptoms are painful and can easily be seen by others. These include watery eyes, coughing, burning nose, and increased heart rate. So I know I want to commend Commissioner Rubio for pausing the enforcement of this initiative, and I know that it's currently being reviewed. My recommendation, there's actually already great state laws in place concerning odor. The Oregon Department of Environmental Quality has a great program. They do an odor report. They had an odor report in 2014 that specifies how they deal with odor complaints. It's quite a comprehensive system. You can lodge an odor complaint, and they actually have an odor review panel that reviews these nuisance complaints. So my suggestion would be either to strike this from our local code or to just emulate the state code that DEQ already enforces for this matter. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jordan. I see that Commissioner Rubio has her hand raised. Commissioner Rubio.
Sure. Thanks, Jordan. I just want to appreciate your comments, and I actually want to also appreciate that you're coming forward with ideas and solutions and recommendations so that we can consider. And it's very timely. Just earlier this month, I formally directed the Planning Bureau to really take this on. So we'll make sure that your recommendations go to staff so that that's something to be considered. But thank you for the recommendations. They're good ones.
Thank you. And next we have communications item 307.
Request of Barbara Geyer to address council regarding fair housing.
Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners and Mayor Wheeler. My name is Barbara Geyer. Pardon me, I have very severe asthma today, and so I promise you I am not contagious. It is asthma, so I'm probably going to make this short. I am a principal real estate broker. I own Barbara Geyer Real Estate here in Oregon, also in California, many years, and but I'm representing myself. I sit on civic committees, but I am representing myself here. Last year I appeared and I requested that we address fair housing violations and look at what is actually happening in the fair housing arena. What are people reporting? Because that was not covered in the Fair Housing Advocacy Committee in the 3 years, as of last year, in the 3 years I was there. That committee, I didn't actually meet with anyone after last year's presentation. The Fair Housing Advocacy Committee, though, has now been paused, and I don't know why Commissioner Rubio did. So we did not have a primary place for the discussion of fair housing here in Portland. And I would like commissioners to take a look at that. The director, our new director of the Portland Housing Bureau, discusses fair housing in the context of affordability. And I believe, as a real estate broker, what I see is fair housing violations are more than affordability. They're based on race. And I would just like to mention, as part of fair housing violations, as part of the Fair Housing Act, disabled people are also included in that. And I am in contact with many disabled seniors who suffer from reactive asthma, reactive bronchitis, emphysema, end-stage renal disease. These are very, very serious conditions, aggravated, exacerbated by cigarette smoke generally in smoke-free buildings. And frankly, I don't know what to do about it. Also, these individuals do experience retaliation and sometimes as a result of their complaints. I feel I'm losing my breath, so I'm going to end right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Before you go, I see that Commissioner Rubio has her hand raised.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Barbara. And I want to first start just by thanking you for your dedication and for providing such meaningful support and service to the affordable housing community over the years. You've been a constant advocate and in lifting up these issues. So I want to say thank you. And then I just want to touch on really quickly about why the Portland Housing Bureau decided to last fall to put a pause on convening 3 of its advisory bodies until spring of 24. And it's really in order to take the time to assess the structure, function, meeting frequency, given that we have a new service area designation. And so we're taking a big look across the whole service area and all of our bodies. And I think PHB should have explained at the time that there are a couple of reasons behind this decision. First, there's a citywide call to assess the number of advisory bodies, which currently total more than 150, and consider opportunities for where we can streamline, where we can have, and not have siloed bodies, but have more comprehensive discussions so that the work informs one another, across particular topics, and so that we can have more rich discussions and comprehensive discussions. So those are some of the reasons why. Also, secondly, the city is also going through the transition, but also PHB has experienced, as you know, a great deal of transition recently as well, with senior leadership changes, et cetera. So we are prioritizing time right now to those critical transitions. And then we're going to take on this work about doing the big look across all the service area. So just wanted to chime in and let you know specifics there. And if you have particular feedback or questions for us around that, we're happy to talk with you directly if you so choose. So thanks for being here.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Next item on communications 308.
Request of Kelly James to address council regarding a resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza.
Welcome, Kelly.
Hello there, thank you. My name is Kelly James, and I'm here in the capacity as my role of Chair of the Foster Powell Neighborhood Association. Mayor Wheeler, Portland City Commissioners, and fellow Portland residents. We, the Foster Powell Neighborhood Association, are calling on Portland City Council to issue a resolution calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, and to use the power of your office to demand the same of our federal officials. In so doing, we join the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners, as well as the city councils of at least 70 cities across the country, including San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond, Cudahy, California, Bridgeport, Connecticut, Wilmington, Delaware, Atlanta, Georgia, Chicago, Illinois, Cambridge and Somerville, Massachusetts, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Detroit, Dearborn Heights, Hamtramck, and Ypsilanti, Michigan, St. Louis, Missouri, Albany, New York, Akron, Ohio, Providence, Rhode Island, and Seattle, Washington. Promoting a resilient and civically engaged community is a core tenet of our mission as a neighborhood association and is reflected in the programs we operate, including our twice-monthly shelter meal program that promotes social justice and human dignity. We believe that these values are also ones held by the city of Portland. We as a neighborhood association stand in solidarity with the people of Gaza who are currently the victims of an ongoing genocide, as well as all Palestinians living under illegal occupation as defined by international law. As we look across the globe with horror at what is happening to our sisters and brothers in Gaza as a direct result of the United States' policies and munitions, we believe it is our solemn duty to do whatever we can to help hasten a permanent end to these atrocities. Our neighbors include Palestinian refugees whose families were forcibly evicted from their ancestral lands during the first Nakba in 1948. Please issue a public call for an immediate permanent ceasefire, return of hostages, safe passage and free access for humanitarian organizations to provide medical aid, food, water, clothing, fuel, power, and shelter to Gazan civilians. We also demand that our government halt all military aid to Israel as a means of leveraging a change in that nation's policies and actions, which are so often in violation of international law. Given the urgency of the situation, we respectfully request a meeting to discuss this matter further. As the situation continues to escalate, time is of the essence. We have submitted 2 written communications to each of the commissioners' offices, as have other organizations, including Southeast Uplift. We have not received any response beyond a standard automated reply. Why is that? Thank you for your time today. We look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Kelly. Before you go, I see the mayor has his hand up. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Kelly, first of all, thank you for being here today. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for your impassioned statement. I want to be clear that there is a difference between what other cities have passed in the form of a resolution and what I actually think is going to make a meaningful difference. And I just want to be clear again. I've said this at many of our council sessions. I've said it elsewhere. I'll say it here again for the record. There's actually 4 things that I think are necessary in order to secure a lasting peace in the Middle East, which I think we all want. The first, as you mentioned, is the fighting needs to cease. Humanitarian aid also needs to be deployed immediately. The hostages need to be returned. And maybe most importantly, what needs to happen, and this is the heavy lift, and it's the one that frankly people talk about the least, there needs to be a long-term mediated solution. I think we all acknowledge that there is a long history here. There is bad blood here. It requires a long-term mediated strategy, and I'm not just talking about Israel and the residents of Gaza. I'm also talking about the Middle East generally as requiring solutions like that. I also want to be clear, this is not the only situation like this taking place on the planet. And frankly, I wonder where the voices were for some of the genocides that are taking place in Rwanda and Darfur, in Sudan. We should be concerned about all of them. And I think this strategy that I have suggested is the right way. There are things, first of all, I think we have to acknowledge and understand we probably don't control the agenda in the Middle East. I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu is sitting on the edge of his seat waiting to hear what the Portland City Council does. But I do think it is important for us to continue to speak to each other. And what we do control is how we treat each other here. And I want to just make a point here about, we can have agreements or disagreements. We can have community discussions about what the right strategy is. But I hope throughout all of it, we will think about how we're treating each other. And I'm concerned not only about what is happening in the Palestinian community, I'm also concerned about
Mayor Wheeler, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm trying to listen. I really appreciate the signs, but if you could please keep your voices down while the mayor's speaking so I can hear him, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. How we treat each other is also important, and I appreciate the way you brought this to the council today. I want to acknowledge that we are seeing increased cases of anti-Semitism in our community. I am deeply alarmed by it. I think my colleagues are. Let's try to have this conversation about what is happening almost a world away, acknowledging that we here are a community too, and we need to have this in a thoughtful way. And I appreciate the way you brought this morning. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Kelly. And with that, I believe we have wrapped up
Excuse me,
communication.
I'm sorry. Can I please respond to the mayor?
Very briefly.
Okay. Mayor Wheeler, thank you for your statement. I appreciate your words. I do agree that we should be treating one another civilly around the world would be lovely. But I think it's a bit dismissive to say that we can't make a resolution to call for a ceasefire because there are other things that need to be considered. Absolutely, a long-term strategy is required. And that's not our job to do in our current roles. But that doesn't mean that we can't advocate for a ceasefire, and I believe that we should as a city. Thank you.
I completely agree that everybody has a right to bring this forward. Here's my concern is, and I'm just speaking for me, I'm not speaking for the council, I'm not speaking for anyone else.
Sure.
There is a performative way that we think about complex international issues. And my suspicion is if we passed a resolution, that's probably the last we would ever hear about this issue. I actually don't want us to stop talking about this issue. And I want us to continue the conversation all the way to the heavy lifting, the fourth item that I mentioned, the mediating the long-term solution, because it seems like we often forget that part. And then when something happens again in the future, we always act surprised. That's my only comment, but I really appreciate the discussion. I appreciate your comments this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Kelly. I do appreciate the dialogue. We have a time certain that we are about 20 minutes late on, so I'm going to try to move us forward. So,
All right. Thank you, Mayor Wheeler. I will reach out to your office to further the conversation.
Great. Thank you so much. Keelan, let's go to our first time certain, which I believe is a proclamation 309.
Proclaim April 14th through the 20th, 2024 to be Public Safety Telecommunicators Appreciation Week. This
is sponsored by both the mayor and Commissioner Gonzalez. Mr. Mayor, do you want to jump in here, or should I just kick it to Renee?
Oh, we'll just turn it over to Commissioner Gonzalez.
We're going to need 1 second here
Okay.
to get up and running here. So, guys. Hey, Nick, I've got one digital thing here. Here we go. Just trying to find my runner show here. Apologize. So, colleagues, today we continue our tradition of proclaiming the second week of April to be Telecommunications Communicators Week for the City of Portland. Across the U.S. and the entire globe, the Association of Public Safety Communication Officials recognizes emergency call takers and dispatchers for the work they do each and every day. It's no secret to any Portlander that increased levels of crime, encampments, and public drug use have become our #1 challenge over the past several years. We used to be widely known and take pride in the fact that Portland consistently ranked among the safest and cleanest major cities in the United States. While our city retains many of the elements that make us a desirable place to live, work, and play, the drastic and jarring shift to the Portland we know today has been brutal on our national perception, and particularly on our first responders. Increased demand for fire, police, and medical emergency responses have not let up. Portlanders still calling 911 at historic rates. I'll steal a quote that Director Kazi uses often. 911 is the closest thing we have to a parameter measuring the health of our community. BOAC exists as a city bureau, yet processes all emergency calls and non-emergency calls for the entirety of Multnomah County. In 2018, BOAC call takers and dispatchers processed about 462,000 911 calls. Fast forward through all that unfolded in 5 years. In 2023, BOAC processed about 656,000 emergency calls, over a 42% increase. In a 1-2 punch, a startling number of employee retirements and departures left fewer folks to answer more and more calls. In 2019, it took an average of 12 seconds for a call taker to answer a 911 call. By 2022, the average had risen fivefold to an average of 65 seconds. In an emergency, we know every second counts. As a result, this council supported BOAC in aggressively hiring, training, and certifying a new crop of call takers and dispatchers. While other segments of public safety have continued to struggle in many respects, BOAC has begun to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Year to date, 911 wait times are down to a 39-second average, far from perfect, but far improved and continue to trend in the right direction. Director Kazi and BOAC leadership have ushered in dozens of new folks into the Bureau, aggressively hiring, training, and certifying folks to meet the moment. BOAC call takers and dispatchers show up to serve Portlanders every day, whether it be during heat waves in the summer, hazardous wildfire smoke in the fall, or winter weather emergencies like February 2023 and recent January storms. They are committed, compassionate, and diligent in their work, and there is a lot to celebrate about the Bureau's progress in each of them individually. I'd like to welcome and turn it over to Director Bob Kazi and Erica Gregg, a dispatcher with 20 years of experience at BOAC, a PPA executive board member who is highly respected among our colleagues. Director Kazi?
Good morning and thank you. I'm Bob Kazi, Director of the Bureau of Emergency Communications, and I have the distinct privilege of leading BOAC and working alongside some of the most caring and compassionate, dedicated, and honorable professionals in public safety. My office opens to the operations floor, and each day I hear the incredible work of our telecommunicators. As members in our community go through difficult times, quite possibly facing the worst day of their lives, I hear our call takers taking countless calls, such as burglaries, fires, assaults, cardiac arrests, drug overdoses. Whatever you can imagine, our staff is prepared for it. Every day they protect people. Every day they save lives. As a community, we've all been through a lot these past few years, and I'm proud of the tenacity of the BOAC team and am happy to report that things are beginning to look up. We've onboarded a record number of employees, and we're on track to fill all of our vacancies by the end of this calendar year. We're celebrating trainee certifications on almost a weekly basis, and we're able to answer our community's calls for help much more quickly. As the commissioner stated, my quote, 911 is a barometer measuring the condition of a community. Our community has struggled, yet at BOAC we are beginning to see a reduction in 911 calls. I'm optimistic about the future of BOAC, and I'm optimistic about the future of our city. Thank you for joining me today in recognizing the 911 call takers and dispatchers at BOEC, our community's first responders. And happy Public Safety Telecommunicators Appreciation Week. And now I'd like to introduce BOEC telecommunicator and PPA Vice President, Erica Gregg.
Thank you. I'm here to represent the group of call takers and dispatchers that serve Multnomah County at the Bureau of Emergency Communications. It is an honor to be here today while we celebrate National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. It is true that we show up 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, regardless of what is happening within our community, our personal lives, or even the weather. It's a calling that requires diligent effort to maintain a positive work-life balance. Being exposed to the daily traumas of the community can have an impact on not only us as individuals, but also our families and loved ones. We appreciate you all taking the time to recognize us and celebrate the work we do. We are also thankful for the support of our union, the Portland Police Association, as well as our partnership within BOEC Operations Management and the City Labor Relations team. Last but not least, we cannot successfully do the work we do without strong working relationships within the other entities we serve alongside: police, fire, AMR, corrections, road and maintenance workers, and the other countless labor groups within the city and county. Once again, on behalf of our membership, thank you and happy National Telecommunicator Week.
Great. Thank you so much. Is that the end of your formal presentation?
Yes, it is.
Well, why don't I kick off Commissioner's comments? First, I want to thank both of you for being here today. As I think everyone knows, I used to be the commissioner in charge of BOEC. Truly an honor. And I tell you, as you guys were chatting, I was pulling up Bob's most recent director's report. And I just want to congratulate you and your teams. I see that going back to last August, I think, we've essentially cut call wait times in half. That is truly remarkable. I couldn't be more grateful to our team over at 911. I want to thank Commissioner Gonzalez for his steady leadership here. And I want to say to my colleagues, I'm delighted to join you in proclaiming April 14th through April 20th to be Public Safety Telecommunicators Appreciation Week. You know, our 911 operators are truly our city's first responders. Before a fire truck shows up, a cop car shows up, an ambulance shows up, our call takers are online, guiding people through what is often the worst day of our lives. I think many of us have had the great privilege of going out and spending some time at our operations center, and you cannot spend an hour in that place without coming out moved and touched. It's also the case that the work that you folks do is often hidden. We don't see you out there in trucks or whatnot, which is one of the reasons why I think that the work that we're doing today by proclaiming April 14th through the 20th to be Public Safety Telecommunicators Appreciation Week is so important. Here locally, for those of you who don't follow the space closely, our 911 operators answer about 1 million calls a year and also respond to another 6,000 text messages. Our team has also been an engine of innovation and efficiency. You can see that in the fact that they managed to cut call wait times in half in the last 6 months or so. In addition to that, I kind of want to call you out and recognize you for being on the cutting edge of equity work. BOEC, I believe, answers about 7,000 to 8,000 multilingual calls a year. You guys are national leaders in terms of diversity training. At a time when our city is so challenged on so many different issues, it is great to have a bureau and a team that is just, well, to be frank, just really crushing it. I want to thank you folks for the work that you do. I want to congratulate Commissioner Gonzalez for keeping this important work on track. And I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you so much. And with those introductory comments, I'd like to now hand it over to Commissioner Rubio, who has her hands raised.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez and Mayor Wheeler, for bringing forward this proclamation to honor telecommunicators who, as we're hearing, are one of the most vital parts of our community safety ecosystem. And during these moments of crisis in the news, we often hear about the brave people who respond to emergencies, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics. But it all starts with these equally brave and steadfast communicators who are the first point of contact for so many experiencing, as Director Kazi said, possibly the worst moments of their lives. And I especially want to appreciate and lift up the tremendous responsibilities of your job, the very heavy emotional work that requires consistently providing that reassurance that the caller needs to feel on the other end of the line. And so speaking with someone empathetic and calm is makes all the difference. And this is a really specific and unique skill that you all possess. And so we're all so thankful for you, for your dedication and effort and this very core role that you play behind the scenes and being on the front line of all these tough situations. So again, thank you, Director Kazi and Erica, for your comments, and congratulations to all on this important recognition today.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Mr. Mayor, I see your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. I just want to join in on the praise train here. I am really impressed with what our professionals and first responders have been able to do, especially in recent years. You know, they've been struggling with some of the issues at BOEC for some time. There's been some budgeting issues. There's been some staffing issues. There's been some technology issues. And I have just seen the team there time and time again step up, just as Commissioner Maps mentioned, as Commissioner Gonzalez mentioned, and be successful. I think, frankly, it sets a good example, since we have challenges in all of our first responder units, not necessarily the making of any individual in those units. Things are changing on our streets, our response is changing, and they've shown that they can be very successful. I was really struck that despite a 42% increase in 9/11 call volume since 2018, at every step, a call for help has been met with what I believe is swift and compassionate support. And I want to thank you for that. Your work is vital to the safety and the well-being of this community. All too often, you are not acknowledged as the frontline first responder professionals that you are. And I don't think people fully appreciate that, just as our police and our firefighters experience trauma after trauma after trauma, you do too. You're there right alongside them, maybe not in person, but you are there. You're directing action. You are making sure that you triage the calls in the appropriate manner, and you're doing it very, very quickly, often with limited information. So I just want to say, not as mayor, but frankly, just as Ted, the guy who lives in Portland, thank you. Really appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Commissioner Ryan, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Director Gonzalez and Mayor, for bringing this forward. It's good to see you, Director Kazi, and you, Erica, representing all of your colleagues today. I do have a couple questions before I make comments, because I don't get to see you enough. It was mentioned earlier, but I'm really impressed with the leadership you're taking on hiring people who are multilingual. How is that going, and how often is that used? Just tell me a story or two.
Yeah, so we just recently are working through a program where we are certifying some of our staff who speak different languages, so that if they happen upon a call, that they're able to process it in that native language. We haven't had a whole lot of instances of that occurring, maybe a couple of Spanish-speaking callers, but we do have a Russian caller, or Russian call taker, rather. And I know we have a few Spanish speakers. It seems to me there's another language, but it's escaping me right now. At any rate, as those call takers go through the certification process, they're actually able to process calls for service in that native language. We're also looking at, for those call takers in particular, being able to incorporate ProQA, which is our medical and fire protocol, in that language. So they're able to process our ProQA calls. Right now, they're not able to, because it's strictly English. And we don't have the Spanish, for example, format for that particular protocol.
I know internally we did some adjustments for those employees that had the skill set and for that to be lifted. It looks like there's more work to do on how we let communities know that don't speak English as their primary language. Maybe they just haven't felt like this was an option for them because of that barrier. So I look forward to hearing progress on how we expose the fact that we do have people that could communicate with them when they call. So thank you for that dialogue. The other one was, I think it's great that there's been an increase. There's been such a dramatic increase since 2018, but now we're hearing that the wait time has gone down. And what do you think are the key indicators, factors of that? Do you think it's because there's less crime? There's a lot of hunches and noise out there that it's because people are just giving up and they don't call? But I want to hear it from the.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. 911 calls, it looks like the first quarter of this year, with the exception of the winter storm that we experienced.
Right.
That was a big increase in 911 calls. But in general, what I'm seeing is about a 4 to 5% decrease in 911 calls when you compare it to the same week last year.
Okay, so
I
it's 4
look
to
at those-
5%. It's not
Yeah,
dramatic.
I look at those trends
trend.
and see if it is trending in that direction. We experienced that early on last year as well. However, we saw a big increase in 911 calls over the summer. So I'm holding my breath a little bit.
Yeah, we wanna see the
I'm not going to
trends throughout the year.
celebrate too soon, but it does look like even compared to last year, when we started seeing a reduction in 911 calls, there's a further reduction this year. In addition to that, we have fewer non-emergency calls, and part of that is because we've implemented case service, which I've talked about here before, the non-emergency technology that helps really funnel callers to a more appropriate place before our call takers even have to answer the phone.
Like 311?
Exactly. Yeah, it will funnel them to 311 before our call takers have to make that transfer.
So looking at the factor of adding more financing to 311 so that could be a more robust system has helped.
Sure.
Okay. All right, Erica, softball one for you and your colleagues. How did you get to work during the winter storm?
I have four-wheel drive. Very important.
All right, that's dedication. Appreciate that. So basically, I just want to say that I agree with my colleagues. You're the too often the silent people that are part of our emergency system that get overlooked. And I'm glad when we were looking at the budget that we did acknowledge that this is a part of the public safety system and that you are first responders. I'll just have to say that, in this job, best part of this job is not sitting here for hours and hours, but it's being out in the community. And the insight trip to your facility was a real eye-opening. I know Commissioner Mapps was doing his job well and wanted to make sure that we have some increases in staffing. And that was a tough struggle, but we did it, thank goodness, or we wouldn't have the numbers that we see today. But I was just so impressed with how your staff responded. I was, trying to really understand, so I was probably breathing down their neck a bit too much. And I watched them just be so calm and composed as they were dealing with a really difficult situation, which I couldn't go into details about. But it was, I'll never forget it. It really woke me up, just like ride-alongs do with other safety units. So anyway, I just want to acknowledge what the culture felt like, and the culture felt really solid. And you guys were going through so much, your teams were at that time. But I could tell there was hope on that visit, and I've always felt that from you, Director Causey. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to your colleagues and for hanging in there during some really rough patches. And it feels like there's hope right now. And I hope the momentum will continue. And I look forward to another Insight trip soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I just wanted to add on one of Commissioner Ryan's inquiries. I think we're seeing about a 2/3 decline in non-emergency wait time. So we've focused a lot on 911, but we're actually seeing even more dramatic improvement on the non-emergency side. I think we're seeing about a 20% increase in successfully completed calls on the non-emergency versus 2 years ago. I think this is a good indication that people aren't giving up on the system. We never know for sure, but the fact that we're getting so many more successfully completed calls and just that wait time has reduced even more dramatically than on 911, I think is a good story. I think one other piece that we haven't emphasized as we look at the overtime challenges we're facing in public safety, no bureau saw a more significant increase in overtime, mandatory overtime, than BOAC did in the immediate aftermath of the pandemic. And no bureau has sort of stabilized more aggressively than BOAC. And it's a testament to the investments that this council made and gave them the tools to fix it. And I just call that out as we're thinking about the solutions for some of our other public safety bureaus. This council intervened at a really tough time for BOAC, and we've held the line on that. And I think our community is benefiting from that right now.
Absolutely. And as long as we're singing the praises of the Bureau, we talked about the fact that you folks have managed to cut average call wait times in half. I'm looking at the director's report for March last month. One of the other things that is really striking to me is that over the past 4 years, call volumes to non-emergency appear to have gone down by 24%. I assume that's because we're doing a better job well, tell us, Bob, again, I think you've touched on it, but tell us how you managed or what's driving that.
Yeah,
25% reduction to.
If I remember, I don't have a photographic memory, but looking at that graph, last year we saw a reduction in non-emergency calls, 12, 15% or so. That was primarily due to the implementation of the 311 program, which has helped tremendously. This year, we've implemented case service, which is that additional technology for our call taking system.
Yep.
That not only funnels callers to 311, it can send them to basically any bureau, as well as text them information on how to file a report online directly from their phone. So with that, that's further reduced the non-emergency call volume by in the 20% or so. What we're seeing on a week-to-week basis is typically about a third of our non-emergency call volume that is being sent somewhere more appropriate than to our call takers.
That is great to hear. And I'll tell you, I'm removed from the day-to-day responsibilities for helping manage this space. But from my distance, it seems like a couple of factors really mattered in BOAC's turnaround. Obviously, your leadership, but an amazing staff also helps a lot too. We did, as a council, take steps to address understaffing in the Bureau, and I think that's helped a fair bit. One of the other things that is very notable, and I know the director worked very, very hard to make this happen too, was just innovations in technology. We kind of got some artificial intelligence in this space. We stood up better options in terms of answering your public safety questions. So I think there are lots of lessons that we have learned in the BOAC space that we could apply to other aspects of keeping Portlanders safe. So I want to thank you for all the work that you've done and for the lessons that you have taught us today.
Thank you.
And with that, colleagues, do we have any more comments? Let me find my screen. It's probably time to read the proclamation. Is that you, Mr. Mayor? No?
Me.
Okay, Commissioner Gonzalez.
And was there any public testimony on this?
Oh, I apologize.
No public testimony on proclamations.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to read the proclamation now. Whereas emergencies requiring police, fire, medical, and alternative response services occur at any time, and whereas prompt call answering and dispatch for police, fire, medical, and alternative response services is crucial to the protection of life, preservation of property, and support for all Portlanders. And whereas public safety telecommunicators in the City of Portland's Bureau of Emergency Communications, BOAC, are the first point of contact for Portlanders' calls for help to access emergency services. And whereas BOAC works in partnership with the City of Portland's Public Safety Service Area, the BOAC User Board, and all of Multnomah County's public safety responders. And whereas BOAC public safety telecommunicators are professionals with extensive training in call taking, triage, and dispatching protocols for police, fire, medical, and alternative response services. And whereas BOAC public safety telecommunicators answer 911 and non-emergency calls, dispatch responders by radio, and serve as the vital link between Portlanders and public safety responders. And whereas BOEC public safety telecommunicators have endured a 42% increase in 911 volume since 2018, receiving over 655,000 911 calls and over 362,000 non-emergency calls in 2023. And whereas BOAC public safety telecommunicators are committed to excellence and consistently display professionalism, resiliency, urgency, and compassion to Portlanders' public safety needs. And whereas Portlanders are grateful for the important, life-saving, and time-sensitive work accomplished by BOAC public safety communicators, I turn it to Mayor Wheeler.
And now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim April 14th to 2024, to be Public Safety Telecommunicators Appreciation Week in Portland, and encourage all residents to observe this week. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to our team over at 911. You guys do an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleagues and Keelan, let's go to our next time certain. This is item 310.
Proclaim April 15th through May 19th, 2024 to be Lights Out Portland Month.
There we go. Thank you. Good. This item comes to us from the mayor and Commissioner Rubio. Commissioner Rubio. Or Mr. Mayor, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah.
No,
Mayor
go
first.
ahead, Commissioner. We're going to hear in a minute from Mary Coolidge from Bird Safe and Lights Out Campaign Coordinator, the Bird Alliance of Oregon, and Micah Meskel, who's the Assistant Conservation Director of the Bird Alliance of Oregon. Before we do that, I'll turn this over to my co-sponsor of this proclamation, Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor. Colleagues, I'm happy to introduce today's proclamation calling attention to the Lights Out Portland month. Every year, billions of birds migrate north during the springtime, and we are currently in the peak migration time for these birds. April 15th through May 15th is designated as Lights Out Portland to call attention to the threat of bright artificial lights to birds' migration. And it can cause birds to become disoriented with increased risks of running into buildings and windows and vulnerabilities to other urban threats. And during this time, we need to encourage all Portlanders to reduce unnecessary exterior lighting. Our own facilities at the city are participating by turning off unnecessary outdoor lighting and encouraging staff to close blinds and turn off lights when they leave for the day. The city is also making additional strides in addressing lighting issues. BPS is working towards recommendations to address light pollution outlined in the 2020 Dark Skies Report. And PBOT has established new lighting standards that are better aligned with Illuminating Engineering Society and Dark Sky International's Dark Sky standards. These include warmer color temperature lights and a focus on dark sky compliant fixtures. So I'll now turn it over to Mary Coolidge and Micah Meskel with the Birds Alliance of Oregon to talk more about the importance of Lights Out Portland.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners and mayor. Thank you so much for having us here this morning. I want to particularly thank the mayor and Commissioner Rubio for bringing the Lights Out Month proclamation forward this morning, which helps make our city safer for migrating birds, healthier for the entire ecosystem, including humans, and helps reduce energy waste and also raises awareness about the impacts of light pollution. Next slide, please. So I want to talk just very briefly about why we run this program, starting with birds. About 70% of our North American birds are migratory, and most of those birds actually migrate at night. Pretty astonishing, I know. They do this because the atmosphere is less turbulent at night, it's cooler, it helps them avoid diurnal or daytime predators, and it also allows them to use the stars as a map to guide them. So they'll generally take off about 30 to 45 minutes after sunset, and they'll fly all night long if conditions are good. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, birds are increasingly encountering light pollution along their migratory routes, which drowns out the stars they're using as guides and can also lure them into lit areas where they face all kinds of hazards, including hitting buildings, which kills up to 1 billion birds every year in North America alone. There was also a report that came out in 2019 from Cornell indicating that we've lost about 30% of our North American birds in the last 50 years. So we know that our birds are in trouble, and turning off our unnecessary overnight lighting is a really easy way that people can help them. There are also weather radar stations across the United States, generally used for weather forecasting, but increasingly radar ecologists are using these to track bird movements. And they will actually identify for us peak months of migration and peak flight nights in various geographies, including in Oregon. So the top image on the screen shows a red alert from a night in May of 2022 when about 5 million birds were forecasted to fly through our skies. Lights Out programs like ours use this information to get the word out to people to try to get them to reduce their unnecessary overnight lighting, at least during the peak month of migration, and then particularly on these big movement nights. Next slide, please. This is also an opportunity for us to get people thinking about light pollution beyond just migration, because it's not just migrating birds that are affected, it's actually whole ecosystems. So this is part of a broader strategy that we have for addressing ecological light pollution, which we know affects fish, mammals, amphibians, invertebrates, plants, and even humans. At this point, there are hundreds of peer-reviewed published papers looking at the impacts of light pollution on everything from whole ecosystems and those communities down to individual species, and none of it is good news. We absolutely need light at night for human activity after dark, but we need to design it and use it more thoughtfully so that we are reducing the unintended consequences and negative impacts of light pollution. Next slide, please. Today, I think, as most of us know, most people live in urban areas, including in the state of Oregon. Most people are living in urban areas where we have a tendency to be awash in light all night long, from things like street lights, billboard lighting, sports fields, parking lot lighting, even when those places are empty and we're not using that lighting. So though we do need light after dark to extend our activity hours into the nighttime, it's not benign. So we need to make sure that we're designing it and using it more responsibly. That means shielding lighting, making sure that it's pointing down, making it no brighter than necessary, and selecting warmer lighting for nighttime use. Next slide, please. Let's talk just a little bit about LEDs and how they affect us. LEDs are great in general. As we all know, they're energy efficient, they're incredibly long-lived, they're relatively maintenance-free. But not all LEDs are created equal. There are some LEDs that produce really bright, glaringly white light. This is referred to as blue-rich white light. And it mimics daylight, and that is problematic when it's used outside at night. This is true across the board, not just for human health impacts, but in humans, it suppresses melatonin secretion into our systems and it disrupts our sleep, which is then associated with other health issues. This kind of light is produced by our cell phones and our computers and our iPads, but these devices are all equipped with systems to dial that blue-rich white light down at night so that it's warmer. This is more difficult with our streetlights, and we have increasingly seen street lighting that is producing this kind of light. The good news here in Portland is that the Portland Bureau of Transportation has developed new specifications for their street lighting, and they are moving toward a 3,000 Kelvin lighting standard, which is warmer lighting than we have now. The other thing is that they are resurrecting a house side shield request program, which allows Portland residents to request a shield on the backside of a streetlight if it's producing a lot of light trespass into their homes and bedrooms and interrupting their ability to sleep. So they are unearthing that. The American Medical Association in 2016 produced a report citing concerns about the association between this kind of light at night and increased risk of breast and prostate cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, retinal damage from looking directly at this kind of light, and glare and hazardous driving and walking conditions from using this kind of light outside at night. There are also equity issues. So research has shown that Asian, Hispanic, and Black Americans have on average twice the mean levels of light pollution in their neighborhoods than white Americans do. There's also new research coming out of Seattle looking at historically homeowner lending corporation redlined neighborhoods, which were the old hazardous Black neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods today have higher light pollution levels than whiter, more affluent neighborhoods. So we aren't lighting our neighborhoods equitably. So this is something that needs more research and also needs to get addressed. Next slide, please. The city has done some really great work to get us where we are today. There's a lot more work to do, but I just want to point out some of the things that have already been done. In 2003, if folks don't already know, the city of Portland became a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Urban Bird Treaty City, which pledged our stewardship to our native birds, residents, and migratory birds alike. In 2012, we worked with the City of Portland to develop a resource guide for bird-friendly building and lighting design. This offered guidelines on how to design a building with reduced light pollution, among other things. In 2015, the City of Portland integrated bird-safe building and lighting design into its own green building policy, which specifies the way that City of Portland buildings are built. In 2020, the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability brought a dark skies report to City Council. That was accepted. That was a report that looked at existing conditions of light pollution in Portland and strategies for reducing it. As I mentioned, in 2023, PBOT made new specifications for their street lighting, which sets now a warmer color temperature than has historically been used. That's good news. There is currently a lighting ordinance being drafted by the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. So that was the top priority that was set out in the Dark Skies report that was accepted in 2020. So it's good to see that underway. I mentioned that PBOT is resurrecting its Streetlight Shield request program. Also good news. And of course, the city participates in an ongoing seasonal lights out program. And with that, I will turn it over to Micah Meskel.
Thanks, Mary. So I'm going to wrap us up and talk about a couple upcoming opportunities. So as Mary noted, light pollution has significant harmful effects on bird migration, but ecological systems as a whole, and humans. And much of this can be mitigated through best practices that we already know about, whether that's shielding or right sizing or other strategies. And as Mary noted, the city has done a lot of significant work already around this through the leadership of BPS and PBOT in implementing a lot of these best practices in policy and implementation. And there's also room for improvement and to build on that. And I think the lighting ordinance draft that is currently underway provides some significant opportunities to continue to bring in best available science to bring those best practices into that ordinance and future work with the city. And additionally, another opportunity is leveraging the Portland Clean Energy Fund's investment for PBOT's LED program, which was a strategic investment that has been proposed, really gives the opportunity for both the city to continue to lead its climate-focused work while bringing in some significant co-benefits by implementing best practices into that strategy. And I think using those funds to implement the LED program and bringing in shielding and proper sizing and scoping gives a real opportunity to reduce emissions while also decreasing environmental harm, while increasing transportation safety with the new lighting. And this can all be targeted on PSEF priority populations. So there's a real equity impact. And I think this example really demonstrates how targeted PSEF investments of surplus funds that the city is currently considering can really push forward the city's climate initiatives, internal climate initiatives, while incorporating broader environmental and community priorities and initiatives. And I hope this serves as an example of how the city can consider framing its
ongoing and future investment in city-led climate action, climate justice action. And then just to close, I'd like to reiterate that it is possible to have well-designed lighting that increases community safety and minimizes ecological impact, and at the same time furthers our climate justice goals. And if we just think about those all at the same time, we can really reach all of those priorities at once.
Great, thank you. Is that the end of your formal presentation? Great. Well, I'm sure my colleagues will have some thoughts they want to share, but before I turn the floor over, I want to take a moment to thank both of you for being here today and bringing this presentation. I also want to thank the mayor and Commissioner Rubio for leaning into this work. Also want to do a shout out to our good friends over at the Bird Alliance of Oregon for their advocacy on behalf of darker night skies here in Portland. Mika in particular, although it goes for both Mary and Mika, as the commissioner in charge of PBOT, I deeply appreciate you highlighting the important role our Bureau is playing in this space. And Mika in particular, I love your ideas about possible avenues for PBOT to partner with PSEF to accomplish some of our both environmental and equity goals. Very exciting work being done in this space, very important proclamation. And with that, why don't I turn the floor over to our mayor, who I see has his hand up. Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thanks. Just a couple of thoughts. First out, Lights Out Portland Month gives us all a chance to do our part to lessen the harm that light pollution inflicts on migratory birds. It also, of course, has implications, as we just heard, for human health as well. Portland also, I just want to point out, has very specific integrated strategies in our 2035 comprehensive plan, the climate action plan, as well as the green building policy to address these issues. So we appreciate the folks who testified today. We've been working with them and others who care about this issue and see the importance of the science behind this issue. And I'm glad that City has really been on the forefront of working hard to address these issues. We're now advancing these efforts with the development of the Dark Skies Initiative, informed by the Dark Skies Report and the initiative that we're now discussing. These programs are vital in reducing unnecessary lights from 11 p.m. to dawn. And I think we all in our neighborhoods have our favorite lights that we know are on during those hours that are totally extraneous and not necessary. I just want to say I'm really impressed by the work of the Bird Alliance of Oregon, and I really appreciate your being here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, I see that Commissioner Ryan has his hand raised.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Mayor and Commissioner Rubio, for bringing this to the dais. And thank you, Mary, and thank you, Micah, from the Bird Alliance. I like your new name. And I wanted to always acknowledge what I learned, something new. I didn't realize that at night, the whole red eye flights by birds. Okay, that's good to know. And I really am glad you lifted up the shields, both as a creative way to look at getting real investments out quickly that make a difference, and also acknowledging, I've noticed this in the sports ball arenas, got kind of intimate with the conversation with the Grant high school area neighborhood. It's so wonderful now that the sports field lights can be directed down in a way that they never were before, and I look forward to seeing that transition take place. I have to say first, and this is personal because I was really into this dark thing, and so much that when my home had a lot of trespassers when I first got elected, media people were like, your home's really dark. I'm like, well, that's because I care about the birds and blah, blah, blah. So after 20 trespasses, I kind of had to look into lights. And so I think that I'm not the only Portlander that might be in that place of complication with safety meets bird safety. And so I just wanted to lift that life is complicated and we have to wrestle with such things. And for me to not bring that up would just seem disingenuous. And so we just had a report on 911 and safety issues. And then we went on to this one, and I think it's great. And I also think it's why government's a lot more nuanced than a lot of people that lobby from their passionate special interest place can acknowledge that we have to wrestle with. So I thought it was important to bring that up. I'm really happy that you are pushing for this, and I do think that we have to keep looking at those really smart, high-impact adaptions like the sports ball fields pointing down, like the shields that you mentioned, and I'll look into that as well. Because a lot of the manufacturers, they just send you the same old really bright lights. So I just want you to know that I'm trying to speaking for people that are probably in a similar place where they care about birds and then they're facing the reality of issues around safety. I dealt with this as Parks Commissioner when Parks was going to take down all the lights at once, and our phones and emails were blowing up around safety. So we had to look at it differently. And that was the majority of the people were more concerned about safety than light pollution. So I'm just, I'm rooting for this to continue to be a movement that gains traction and results. And I want to make sure we always have the conversation about these, both things can be true and how do we mitigate that as we move forward. So thank you for being here. And I probably said something that makes you want to say something back. So I'll stop talking.
Yeah, I would just briefly respond to that and say, I don't think it has to be an either or. I think that we do know that people are concerned about safety issues, and it is about lighting design. It's not, this isn't a request that everybody turn all lights off. I know the name of the program does somewhat suggest that. We've played around with changing it to something like dim the lights for birds at night, but because it has such broader impacts, we really haven't landed on a good new one, and lights out programs are fairly well understood across the country. But to your point, you know, motion censored lighting, it's about lighting design. So can you have your lights on motion sensors? I have a front porch light on a motion sensor. If that kicks on at night, I know that there's either a raccoon on my front porch or a person. And so that gets my attention. It also creates the element of surprise. So if somebody's wandering into your yard, all of a sudden a light comes on, that kind of gets their attention. They also don't know how much attention they're attracting from inside the house. So that's one easy way to start to minimize the impacts. Making sure that the lights are warm. They don't have to be that cold blue light. They can be warmer. They probably don't have to be as bright as we sometimes think they need to be in order to be effective. So it's really just thinking about the nuances of how we design our lighting so that we're meeting both needs at the same time.
I appreciate that. I'm going to use the language. The design is the key, and motion is where it's at, the motion sensors. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you. Great dialogue. And I see Commissioner Gonzalez wants to say something.
Do we have any public comments on this?
It's a proc, so no.
No? Okay, just wanted to, well, I'm just going to do my comprehensive comments then now. I want to thank Commissioner Rubio for bringing this proclamation forward, and I want to thank you, Mary and Mika, and the Bird Alliance of Oregon for the work you do. Mehmet Murat Yildiz once said, whenever there are birds, there is hope. And I think this is a city that needs some hope right now. So Portland is a city that embraces and looks with admiration at the natural world. We're often accused of being an unreligious city, but we are a spiritual city. And our appreciation for the great outdoors, our wildlife, our natural environment is a big part of that. Our proximity to the Cascades and coastal mountain ranges, the stunning sights, the Pacific Ocean, Columbia River Gorge, and dense biodiverse forests that have thrived for countless generations. As Portlanders, we value and protect these assets that make us proud and unique to the rest of the country and to a certain extent the world. Additionally, we take pride in the life that thrives off these ecosystems, and we didn't earn the motto of put a bird on it for nothing, even though it's sometimes overused, but this proclamation, if actually executed on, if we fully embrace, will not just benefit the millions of birds that will traverse over our city, but clear up our night skies to enhance stargazing for Portlanders and hopefully push some energy efficiency. Happy to support this proclamation. Encourage everyone to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. And with that, I believe it's time to read the proclamation. Mr. Mayor, is that you or is that Commissioner Rubio?
We'll have Commissioner Rubio read it right until the very end, then I'll pick up the last paragraph.
Got it. Commissioner Rubio, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Council President. And thanks, Mary and Mika, for being here with us to talk about the importance of this project. We all need to work together to protect our wildlife from urban threats. And this helps us move towards that protection for birds. So I'll now start the proclamation. Whereas Portland is a growing city in a growing metropolitan area, and with growth and development comes more outdoor lighting. And whereas with increased outdoor lighting comes increased light pollution. And whereas 80% of North Americans cannot see the Milky Way from where they live. And whereas light pollution has negative impacts on human health, safety, and culture, and is increasingly understood to be an equity issue. And whereas light pollution wastes energy, increases our carbon footprint, and has widespread and deleterious impacts on whole ecosystems, including fish, mammals, invertebrates, amphibians, and plants. And whereas Portland is on the Pacific Flyway, which brings millions of birds into our airspace during migration, and light pollution represents a major threat to migratory birds, including interfering with migratory patterns and contributing to collisions, which cause over 1 billion bird deaths every year. And whereas North American bird population has declined 30% since the 1970s, and whereas Portland's light pollution can be seen from 100 miles away and impacts Oregonians far outside of the metro area, and whereas the city has adopted policies directed at reducing light pollution in Portland, including in the 2035 Comprehensive Plan, the Climate Action Plan, and the Green Building Policy, and whereas the Dark Sky Strategy is an essential part of creating a healthy, equitable, and resilient city, and whereas the Dark Skies Report was presented to City Council on September 17, 2020, and calls for comprehensive regulatory and public outreach approaches to address light pollution from homes, buildings, commercial and industrial developments, and streetlights. And whereas the city is currently in the process of developing a dark skies ordinance, and whereas Bird Alliance of Oregon sponsors an annual Lights Out Portland public outreach event in the city during peak fall and spring bird migration season, and engages residents and building owners and managers in actions to reduce unnecessary overnight light to prevent birds from being attracted to urban areas. And whereas Lights Out program are key outreach strategies identified in the Dark Skies Report, and that other cities across North America have taken to reduce unnecessary light pollution. And whereas the city has been USFWS designated Urban Bird Treaty City since 2003, and whereas several City of Portland buildings and facilities participate in the seasonal Lights Out program, including City Hall, the Portland Building, and several Portland Parks and Recreation community centers.
Now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim April 15th through May 9th, 2024 to be Lights Out Portland Month in Portland, and encourage Portlanders to pledge to extinguish unnecessary exterior lighting every night during peak migration, to turn off their interior and exterior lights from 11 p.m. until dawn daily, and to get outside to view the beautiful night sky. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the proclamation passes. I think I agree with Jared. Let's give that a round of applause. And I want to thank you folks for being here today. This is a really great item. And again, thanks to the Mayor and Commissioner Rubio for bringing it forward. Colleagues, next I would like to go to the consent agenda. Keelan, has anything been pulled off of consent?
No items have been.
Okay, why don't we call the roll?
Ryan.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Laps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Consent passes. Colleagues, we will now go to the regular agenda. Keelan, please call item 314.
Revise the city chart of accounts to show newly created service areas, bureau, and bureau hierarchy, and adopt the updated appropriations schedule.
Mr. Mayor, I believe this is yours. And I believe it's being pulled back, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So we're going to pull that one back, and we'll move on to item 315. Keelan, colleagues, this is a second reading of a non-emergency item. We're looking at the spring bump. Is there any additional conversation that we need to have here? Commissioner Ryan, you seem confused.
Imagine that.
Oh, I apologize.
No, that's
No, I screwed up. Did we read Did we read 314, the title?
We read 314. Would you like me to read 315?
Yes, okay. Let's move on to 315. We pulled 314 back to the mayor's office. Next up, colleagues, we have item 315. Keelan, please read the title.
Adopt the FY 2023-24 spring supplemental budget and make other budget-related changes.
Thank you. This is the second reading of a non-emergency item. Colleagues, is there any discussion on this item?
I just wanted to, I thought there was a relationship between 314 and 315. So I just want someone to speak to that.
I'm going to turn that over to Robert.
Okay, thanks.
He's the editor of this.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. My name is Robert Cheney, for the record, City Budget Office. So as we know, the charter change is happening right now. There's a lot of folks working on a lot of the components of what that looks like. And in doing that, we have created new organizational units. The way that state budget law works is when this council gavels in a budget ordinance, there's what we call an appropriation schedule that shows both government fund and org unit. At the city, we say our org units are bureaus, and we require an ordinance to become a bureau within Title III of Code. What we've been doing this year as part of charter change rollout is creating new org units, but moving existing fund centers into them. And what that does is that it moves appropriation out of the org units that are displayed in the appropriation schedule and moves them kind of all over because we've been doing a lot. So the ordinance that was filed attempted to effectively create those bureaus in Title III so that the appropriation schedule could be updated and legally sound. What we learned from the attorney's office is that those Title III ordinances that create bureaus require a lot more than what the ordinance had drafted. So all that to say, we do have a route forward for getting into legal compliance with state budget law. It is an amendment that we'll hear with the bump. But this ordinance is a very technical ordinance that would bring us into compliance with state budget law. We're going to pull back, and I think the solution going forward is that this council will likely hear a suite of multiple Title III ordinances to create these new org units that are going in. And yeah, there was just some policy hydraulics to.
So 315 is relevant between now and through the end of this fiscal year, and then 314 is something that we have to address before July 1.
Could I jump in here for just a sec? Okay, sorry, I'm trying to figure this out with kind of a cell phone issue here. So let me read my introductory remarks for this, and that'll clarify some of this. And I'm sorry for the problem. I'm managing multiple emails here and this Zoom thing. So colleagues, as you note, we just pulled back the emergency ordinance to revise the city's chart of accounts back to my office. As a reminder, the item is a technical ordinance to reflect our new organizational chart, update the appropriate schedules, and bring us into compliance with budget law. The item was initially pushed from last week to this week to give the city attorneys a little bit more time to review. Rather than proceed with the original item, the attorneys have advised that we should resubmit a series of ordinance in the coming weeks just to make sure it's clear. As we await those changes, the attorneys have provided us with an amendment to the spring supplemental budget, also known as the spring bump package, that will bring us into compliance. In addition, I will motion to add an emergency clause so that we can vote today and make the spring bump effective immediately, which would allow us to stay on schedule for the appropriations for the next fiscal year. So if you have any questions for staff on those, let us know now. Otherwise, let's go ahead and proceed to the spring bump.
Thank you, Mayor. We needed that explanation. Appreciate it.
Okay, good.
I have a follow-up question.
Better to give the explanation first. Sorry, did anybody have questions for staff?
Just had a follow-up.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
So why was 314 necessary to bring as emergency? So we're talking about a chart of accounts that would be effective on July 1. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah, no, I understand your confusion. It was required because when we moved a lot of those fund centers into the new org units, which also hadn't been added to code, it moved those program expenses, which are a legal appropriation category. So let me just give an example because I think it'll help. For example, the Bureau of Human Resources. It was a business area within Title III under the Office of Management and Finance. So in our legally bound appropriation schedule, it said Office of Management and Finance, and then it had a list of funds, right? What we did when we created the Bureau of Human Resources as an org unit, not with the Title III ordinance, just pulling it out, it moved all of the appropriations, including things like the health fund, out of the org unit Office of Management and Finance. And because of that, and that happened, that kind of thing happened multiple times across the city's appropriation schedule. Because of that, that appropriation schedule was no longer reflecting reality. So what the original ordinance was trying to do was update the appropriation schedule to reflect reality by noting that some of the org units that are in there, it was going to attempt to create bureaus, and then that would have brought us into compliance in the current year, because appropriations have moved around in the current year. But it wouldn't have much to do for FY 24-25 effective July 1. It's just that when we created these org units and moved things around, they moved around in material ways that knocked us out of compliance with the state budget law that says your appropriation schedule has to reflect existing appropriations and has to be basically codified a certain way. So
So it's essentially cleanup, right? So we've moved some stuff around. We have to address state budgeting law to do sort of ratify what we've done, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And that has a retroactive component. I guess maybe just consider when this comes back, do we actually have to do it on emergency now that we've taken a couple swings at it? Couldn't quite do it. I think I understand what you're trying to do. I'm not sure I understand the rush on this particular piece, and rather just get it right.
I think the reason we did the emergency clause is we were doing some catch up here and we wanted to get it completed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, on advice from the TSCC, they said we needed to bring some sort of resolution or ordinance forward to basically recognize that money had moved around as part of the charter change initiative and just show that there was a new appropriation schedule. The reason we were in a hurry was because we wanted to show it and get us into compliance, because the spring bump was going to come up with another appropriation schedule. And if the spring bump had org units that weren't legally valid, then we would just be right back at square one.
Can you, we can take it offline. I may have some follow-up legal questions, but fine. Okay, thank you.
Just so we're grounded, what's the run of show on this item? So it sounds like the mayor is going to have a amendment.
So we're polling 314, which we've done. Thank you, colleague, for that. 315, I'm going to make 2 technical amendments.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll hand the floor over to you if you want to.
Good. So the first is a motion to add the following directive in the spring supplemental budget is filed to bring the city of Portland into compliance with state budget law. Any of the organizational units named in Exhibit 1, the appropriation schedule, that are not expressly codified as city bureaus and City Code Title III administration are considered organizational units pursuant to Oregon Revised Statute 294-456, Section 3A, which states the appropriations required ... must contain one amount for each organizational unit or program of each fund. And the references to them are considered placeholder organizational units until this council can hear ordinances creating the appropriate new city bureaus or offices and adding them to Title III in anticipation of the changes necessitated by charter reform. The organizational unit placeholders are city administrator, city council, office of city operations, office of community and economic development, office of deputy city administrator of budget and finance, office of deputy city administrator of public safety, office of vibrant communities, office of public works. That's my motion. I'll seek a second.
Second.
Commissioner Maps, thanks. Wheeler 2 is a motion to amend the spring bump ordinance to add an emergency clause in order to have the appropriations in Exhibit 1 to 5 of this ordinance is amended be enacted upon by the unanimous passage of this ordinance. The appropriations of personnel into these placeholders is solely intended for budgetary and fiscal management and do not constitute creation of a new city bureau until council takes further actions to authorize them. Council is given policy direction that there may need to be additional city bureaus, offices, or subordinate units creating to carry out government functions. Do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. And you might want to take testimony on the amendments or see if there is any. I kind of doubt it.
Is there any testimony on these amendments? Okay, we have no one signed up. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
No, I was going to say, and then just run of show, we'll vote on the amendments and then move on.
Before we vote, I want to create some space to see if there's any discussion amongst my colleagues on this one.
I just have a clarification.
Yeah, go.
For budget team, so we're creating the buckets. Is there, in the spring bump, are there any specific appropriations to those buckets? I'm just trying to clarify the nexus here.
Robert, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, there likely are, and that will show up in the appropriation schedule. So, for example, I believe the CSD, the fund center that was containing CSD that was in the Office of Management and Finance, I believe, got moved for the Office of Public Safety, the Office of the DCA of Public Safety. So again, these are mostly net neutral, normal transactions that would happen anyway. They're just, instead of rolling up, for example, that one, instead of rolling up to the Office of Management and Finance, rolls up to the Office of the Public Safety DCA. There are probably multiple decision packages, both technical, maybe some program carryovers. As far as new allocation of resources like compensation set aside or things like that, there are probably a couple. I would have to look through, but yeah, everything, all of the organizational units that the mayor just mentioned in his amendments can be cross-referenced with the appropriation schedule that's filed, and those represent the org units that are in there.
So just using the example that you just gave, the Office of Deputy City Administrator for Public Safety, I'm just trying to understand for this fiscal year what dollars are going to be flowing through that you know wouldn't have necessarily, is there elements there that are going through DCAs that weren't part of the last budget, or is it just reallocation?
I would characterize it as moving funds to a service area where the dollars need to be to continue the services. And almost all, I'm pretty sure in all of this, we're just moving appropriations that have been previously approved into the correct organizational structure.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm good on questions.
Thank you very much. If I were to provide some feedback here, maybe a little bit of more notice and briefing about these changes. I recognize we're in the middle of budget season. Things are kind of chaotic, and we're doing the best we can, but we're catching up in real time, as you can probably tell.
There'll be more of these coming forward, and we'll be sure to come and brief you before the council session.
I appreciate that. With that, I believe this is the moment where we should vote on the amendments. Is that correct? Great.
Correct. And then we'll vote on the spring bump as amended.
Great. Keelan, please call the roll.
Wheeler, 1. Ryan?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Lapps?
Aye.
Rubio?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye.
Wheeler, 2. Ryan?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Lapps?
Aye.
Rubio?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye.
And then on
Let's
the
vote on the bump.
emergency, on the ordinance as amended?
Yep.
Ryan?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Lapps?
Aye.
Rubio?
Aye.
Wheeler?
I want to thank everybody who worked hard on this. As you know, the spring bump is always a challenge because it comes smack dab in the busiest part of the annual budget process. And it has the added component of being highly technical in nature. It's a true up to make sure that we get through the remainder of the fiscal year. Thus, there is a lot of machinations like this. It happens every single year. At any rate, this is my last spring bump, so enjoy it going forward. I want to thank the budget staff. I want to thank Sarah and Haley on my team for grinding through the technical aspects of this, as well as working with the budget office thanks to everybody on the budget office. I know there's a lot of late nights, last minutes, unanticipated issues, changes that need to be made, frankly, responsiveness to ideas and thoughts brought by the council as well. Thank you for doing the thankless. I vote aye.
Item 315 passes. Great, thank you so
Mayor and
much.
council members.
Thank you.
Next up, we have item 316, which is the second reading of a non-emergency ordinance. Keelan, could you please read the title?
Declare property located near the intersection of Southeast Morrison Street and Southeast 51st Avenue as surplus property and authorize the Bureau of Transportation to dispose of the property for fair market value.
Colleagues, any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, Keelan, please call the roll.
Ryan?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Hobbs?
Aye.
Rubio?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye.
Item 316 passes. Let's go to item 317.
Declare property west of North Marine Drive as surplus property and authorize the Bureau of Transportation to dispose of the property for fair market value.
Colleagues, this is a second reading. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, Keelan, please call the roll.
Ryan?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Hobbs?
Aye.
Rubio?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye.
Item 317 passes. Next up, we have item 318. Please read the title.
Amend Hearings Office Code to transfer the Hearings Office from Office of Management and Finance to Auditor's Office.
This is a second reading of a non-emergency item. Any further discussion, colleagues? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Ryan?
Yeah, Madam Auditor, thank you for your presentation last week. I understand this is a return of the hearings office to the auditor's office. Thanks to your office and Lindley Reese and our attorney's office for the dialogue surrounding the inclusion of the word timely. I was concerned that the term might be vague, ambiguous, but I now understand that a deadline is set in each case and that anything received before that stated deadline will be considered timely. I appreciate you all getting back to us. I vote aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Hobbs?
Aye.
Rubio?
I want to thank Auditor Reddy for her leadership and willingness to move this back to the auditor's office. I vote aye.
Wheeler?
I also want to thank Auditor Reddy. Thank you for doing this. This will make a huge improvement. We realized that there were some stipulations that the auditor made very clear last week. I want you to know, Madam Auditor, I heard those stipulations. We'll live up to our part of the bargain. Thank you. I vote aye.
Item 318 passes. Colleagues, I believe that wraps us up for this morning. Is that correct, Keelan?
That's correct.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Oh, sounds good.